At 24 years old, Daniel had zero savings, no wealthy parents, and no degree. His entire net worth sat in his pocket, exactly $7. That night, he slept on the concrete floor of an abandoned workshop. 10 years later, Daniel would walk through the doors of a company headquarters worth tens of millions of dollars. He employed hundreds of people, and investors actively fought for a piece of his equity. People who once dismissed him suddenly demanded to know his secret. They assumed he had stumbled onto a complex business idea. He hadn't. His wealth was built on a shift in perspective. When you have nothing to lose, you have the freedom to think differently. This is how a broke young man built a massive empire out of the things everyone else ignored. Daniel grew up in a small industrial town where money was a source of constant anxiety. His father repaired factory machines, and his mother cleaned houses. There were months they had to choose between the electric bell and the grocery store. Living in poverty meant constantly calculating the disaster of a missed paycheck. Determined to avoid that cycle, he started working early: grocery stores, warehouses, and eventually a manufacturing plant. The pay was low, but he paid close attention to how products were made. Every month, the factory discarded thousands of dollars worth of damaged boxes, wooden pallets, and plastic containers. When he asked his manager why they didn't sell the waste, the manager called it trash. But Daniel remembered his father's advice: if you don't have money, start by solving problems. Where the manager saw garbage, Daniel saw inventory. Entrepreneurship often begins by identifying the value in resources that society has conditioned us to ignore. Daniel formed a simple market thesis: small businesses prioritize cost over brand new packaging. He guessed that local retailers didn't care if a box was used, as long as it kept their shipping expenses down. Execution was grueling. He spent an entire day walking from business to business, explaining his idea. By sunset, he had been rejected 17 times and still held the same $7. Finally, a small online seller gave him a chance. They needed cheap shipping boxes immediately. Daniel promised to deliver them the very next morning, despite having no stock and no supplier. He used his $7 for a bus ticket to a local warehouse. He found an owner looking to get rid of a stockpile of boxes and negotiated to haul them away for free. The next morning, he delivered the cleaned-up boxes and received an $80 payout. He had turned $7 into $80 without buying a single product. It proved that money is a byproduct of solving a problem for someone else. Daniel repeated the process, pouring every dollar back into the business. He bought a cheap van, rented a small warehouse, and hired his first employee, all while friends mocked him for being a trash collector. The operation grew steadily. $500 in sales scaled to $2,000, then $10,000, eventually reaching a $50,000 milestone. But the success attracted a massive, well-funded corporate competitor. With superior technology and lower prices, they quickly seized his market share. The fallout was devastating. Sales plummeted, major accounts left, and Daniel found himself in a dark office with overdue rent and an empty bank account. Every startup faces this junction. You either surrender to the giant, or you find a corner of the market they are too large to serve. Daniel stopped fighting a price war and asked a different question: what do massive corporations refuse to do? He found a gap. Large suppliers demanded huge, inflexible orders. Small businesses needed low quantities, custom designs, and eco-friendly materials, things the big players considered a nuisance. He pivoted away from cheap bulk sales to an online platform for custom packaging. Customers could choose a size, upload a design, and order small quantities in minutes without complex contracts. When you can't outspend the competition, removing friction for the customer becomes a significant competitive advantage. The platform's growth accelerated when a customer posted a video demonstrating the speed of the customization process. The video reached millions of views, verifying a massive national demand for small-scale custom orders. To handle the influx, Daniel invested in automation and developed proprietary software to manage the logistics. He expanded from a single warehouse to a multi-city operation, hiring specialized teams to keep up with the fulfillment requirements. Revenue crossed $10 million in year 7. By year 9, it cleared $50 million. The curve continued until the company hit the $100 million mark. This wasn't a sudden miracle. It was the result of thousands of micro-innovations in software and logistics, made when quitting would have been the easier path. 10 years after sleeping on that workshop floor, Daniel returned to his hometown. He drove past the factory where he had once worked, looking at the same loading docks where he first noticed the waste. He didn't celebrate by buying a mansion. Instead, he opened a free business and mentorship center for young locals. He wanted to offer the same chance someone had once given him. Wealth is built by seeing inventory where others see waste, finding feedback in rejection, and identifying opportunities within competition. You do not need to start rich to become rich. You simply need to begin by solving a problem with the resources already available to you. If you were down to your last $7 today, what problem would you solve? The next great business might be hiding inside a problem everyone else has learned to ignore. Subscribe to the Leo Mentor for more on the mindset of success. Your story could be the next one.